She took a deep breath, clutching the worn-out strap of her old handbag. This job had helped her pay for the tuition of her long-cherished interior design course. Though cleaning wasn't something Emma wanted to pursue in the long run, it was the only path that could bring her closer to her dream. One day, she would design beautiful spaces like the apartments she was currently scrubbing. Stepping through the revolving doors, a wave of warmth enveloped Emma as she entered the grand lobby of the building. Thick carpets, magnificent crystal chandeliers, and the delicate fragrance of expensive perfume from passing guests made her feel smaller than ever. Her old boots seemed completely out of place in such a luxurious setting, but she quickly shook off that thought. At the reception desk, Charlotte Dawson, Emma's best friend and floor supervisor, was waiting. Charlotte's golden hair was neatly tied up, and her confident demeanor always reassured Emma whenever she felt out of place in the grandeur of the building. "You look nervous," Charlotte teased, sipping her coffee. "Got a special assignment today?" Emma sighed. "The top floor, Alexander Hale's penthouse." Charlotte nearly choked on her coffee. "What did you just say? Alexander Hale? You've never been up there before, have you?" Emma nodded. "No, but today the manager assigned me. He said the previous cleaner quit." Charlotte raised an eyebrow knowingly. "Another one bites the dust. You know, no one lasts more than a month up there." Emma swallowed hard, feeling her nerves intensify. The rumors about Alexander Hale were abundant. A young billionaire who had made his fortune founding one of the world's leading tech companies, yet his personal life remained a complete enigma. People said he was a perfectionist to an extreme degree, never tolerating even the smallest mistake. There were also whispers about his solitude, that he rarely left his apartment, and when he did, it was only for high-profile business events. "You'll be fine," Charlotte patted Emma's shoulder reassuringly, flashing an encouraging smile. "Just be careful with your work. Don't get too curious. Have you ever seen him in person?" Emma shook her head. "Never. But I've heard he's really difficult, isn't he?" Charlotte shrugged. "I've never seen him either, but the security guys say he always comes home late and leaves early in the morning. No one really knows what he does inside that fancy apartment." A chill ran down Emma's spine. She gathered her cleaning supplies into the cart, trying not to think too much. The penthouse on the top floor offered a panoramic view of London, but no one truly knew what lay behind its doors, except for its owner. Stepping into the elevator, Emma pressed the button for the 40th floor, the highest in the building. She could feel the tension rising as the floors ticked by. The elevator, encased in rich walnut wood, was so silent that Emma could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her chest. When the doors finally slid open, a vast hallway stretched before her, lined with deep navy velvet carpets and illuminated by gold-plated wall sconces. The door to Alexander Hale's apartment stood before her, modern yet with a touch of classic elegance in its intricate detailing. Taking a deep breath, Emma inserted the key card she received from the management and gently pushed the door open. The penthouse that unfolded before her was breathtaking. Towering ceilings, floor-to-ceiling glass windows showcasing the mist-covered cityscape of London, and a monochromatic palette of grays, blacks, and whites that exuded minimalist sophistication. Emma pushed her cart inside and began her work. She carefully wiped down every surface, from the marble dining table to the sleek leather armchairs. Everything was immaculate, almost unnervingly so, but there was an undeniable emptiness in the air, as though the space lacked a soul. As Emma made her way towards the bedroom, she suddenly noticed the bathroom door slightly ajar, with wisps of steam escaping and carrying a faint scent of cool mint. Her heart skipped a beat. According to the schedule, the apartment was supposed to be empty. Before she could react, the bathroom door swung open, and standing before her was Alexander Hale, the man she had only heard about in whispers. He was clad in nothing but a towel loosely wrapped around his waist, his tanned skin glistening under the soft bathroom lighting. His steely gray eyes scanned Emma with a piercing intensity that seemed to see right through her. Emma stood frozen, embarrassment flooding through her, and she stammered, "Oh my, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were here." For a moment, Alexander said nothing, merely staring at her, his expression unreadable. Then he arched an eyebrow and spoke in a voice that was both deep and authoritative. "Next time, check the schedule more carefully." Emma's face burned with humiliation as she quickly stepped back, inadvertently knocking over a few cleaning supplies, sending bottles clattering noisily to the floor. She crouched down to pick them up, fumbling. I'll come back later." Alexander remained still, showing no urgency to leave. Instead, his lips curved into a faint, almost amused smile. "No need. Just carry on with your work." Emma hastily gathered her things and practically fled the bedroom, her heart pounding so loudly it echoed in her ears. And that was how she met Alexander Hale. Not at a glamorous party or through a magazine feature, but in one of the most awkward and humiliating moments of her life. Little did she know, from that moment on, her life was about to change forever. Welcome to today's story. Let us know in the comments which city you're listening from. You might find someone from the same place tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. In the days following the unexpected incident in Alexander Hale's bathroom, Emma couldn't shake off the overwhelming embarrassment and anxiety. She was certain she would be fired immediately. However, to her surprise, the management delivered unexpected news. Alexander had personally requested for her to remain as the primary cleaner for his penthouse. "He really didn't ask for someone else?" Emma asked Charlotte during their lunch break in the staff cafeteria. Charlotte shrugged, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. "Maybe he enjoys watching you blush and flee more than having a serious housekeeper." Emma shot her a glare, but deep down she couldn't help but wonder if Alexander had noticed something special about her. Despite everything, each time Emma stepped into the penthouse on the top floor, she felt a lingering tension. The first time she returned after the incident, she took a deep breath before gently opening the door, cautiously glancing around to ensure Alexander wasn't present. But as she was meticulously wiping down the marble kitchen counter, his deep, authoritative voice resonated behind her. "You're quite diligent." Emma jumped, nearly dropping the cloth in her hands. She turned to see Alexander leaning against the doorway, this time dressed in a crisp white shirt and dark trousers, his gray eyes observing her every move with quiet intensity. I'm just doing my job, Mr. Hale," she stammered, feeling the familiar heat rising to her cheeks. Alexander gave a slight nod, his gaze lingering on her longer than necessary before turning and walking away, leaving Emma with a strange mix of tension and curiosity. From that moment on, Alexander's presence became more frequent. Previously, every time Emma arrived to clean, the penthouse had always felt eerily empty, but now signs of life gradually appeared. A warm coffee cup left on the table, stacks of unfinished documents on the sofa, and sometimes a jacket casually draped over a chair. Emma couldn't help but notice these little details. She discovered that Alexander preferred his coffee black, without sugar, and that he meticulously read the Times newspaper every morning. "Is Mr. Hale staying home more often?" Emma asked Charlotte one day. Charlotte raised an eyebrow playfully. "You're seeing him more often now. Who knows, maybe you're the reason he's becoming less obsessed with work." Emma shook her head. "No way, he barely notices me." But the truth was, Alexander seemed to be paying more attention to her than she realized. One afternoon, while rearranging books on the shelves in his study, Emma's fingers brushed against a familiar title, The Great Gatsby. She carefully flipped through the pages, losing herself in Fitzgerald's evocative prose, unaware that Alexander was standing silently at the doorway, observing her. "Fitzgerald?" His voice startled her, and she quickly placed the book back on the shelf. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's fine," Alexander interrupted, stepping into the room and retrieving the book himself. "I like how he writes about dreams, about luxury, and loneliness." Emma looked at him, surprised by this unexpected glimpse into his thoughts. "You enjoy classic literature?" Alexander shrugged, a fleeting smile crossing his lips. "Technology isn't the only thing I care about." From that moment, Emma realized Alexander wasn't as emotionless as the rumor suggested. He had very human interests, simple yet deeply personal, hidden away behind the towering walls of his lavish penthouse. Gradually, Emma began to sense something different about Alexander. He often appeared while she was working, asking seemingly casual questions like, "What do you think of the apartment's design?" At first, Emma thought he was merely making small talk, but as time passed, she realized he genuinely valued her opinion. Once he even furrowed his brows when she remarked, "I think this place feels too cold. It needs something that breathes life, something more human than just perfection." Alexander didn't respond immediately. He simply stared at her for a long moment before turning away. But a few days later, Emma noticed a new painting hanging in the living room. A simple yet colorful landscape, completely different from the previously stark minimalist aesthetic. She smiled to herself, wondering if, in some small way, she had influenced him. Despite his stoic exterior, Emma began to see glimpses of the man beneath. The man who perhaps was just as lost and lonely as she once felt, standing in the grand lobby of Wellington Tower. However, the unexpected closeness between Emma and Alexander did not go unnoticed by the other staff members in the building. "You're definitely catching Mr. Hale's eye," Charlotte teased as they sat down for lunch together. Emma rolled her eyes. "Don't be ridiculous. He's just a wealthy man, and I'm just a regular cleaning girl." Charlotte tilted her head, a playful glint in her eyes. "Do you really think so? Haven't you noticed something different?" Emma didn't respond, but deep down, she couldn't deny that every time she was near Alexander, there was something inexplicable, an unspoken connection neither of them dared to acknowledge. Yet along with those newfound emotions came an underlying sense of fear. The difference between their worlds was too vast. Alexander's life was filled with million-dollar meetings and luxurious apartments, while Emma's revolved around late-night study sessions and mounting rent bills. Despite this, Emma couldn't ignore the fact that each time she stepped into Alexander's penthouse, it no longer felt as cold and empty as before. And that, perhaps, was the most troubling realization of all, because she was slowly letting her heart wander into dangerous territory. Emma gradually became accustomed to her daily presence in Alexander Hale's penthouse. She realized that behind the cold and flawless exterior of the place, there were countless small details that revealed the true nature of its owner. Things that most people would overlook at first glance. But to Emma's keen eye, an eye that loved design, these details gradually painted a colorful picture of Alexander's life. One early morning, while dusting the large bookshelf in the living room, Emma discovered a glossy black Steinway piano tucked away in a corner, covered with a thin layer of dust. It was clear that no one had played it in a long time. She let her fingers glide over the keys, and a soft, clear, yet melancholic sound resonated in the vast room. Did Alexander used to play? Or was there someone else here before? She wondered. Her gaze shifted to a portrait hanging on the opposite wall, a beautiful woman with sharp eyes but an unmistakable sorrow hidden within them. For some reason, the painting made Emma feel uneasy, as if it carried a weight too heavy to bear. She couldn't stop herself from murmuring, "She must have been very important to him." "She was my mother." Emma jumped, her heart pounding as she turned to find Alexander standing in the doorway, his hands casually tucked into his pockets, his eyes fixed on the painting. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be nosy," Emma stammered, lowering her gaze. Alexander shook his head lightly. "It's all right." He stepped closer, his expression softening slightly as he looked at the portrait. "She loved art. When she was alive, she used to play the piano every morning." His voice, usually so controlled, now carried a tinge of longing and regret. Emma stood still, her chest tightening with empathy. "Why don't you play anymore?" A heavy silence hung between them before Alexander finally replied, his eyes lost in distant memories. "Some memories are too heavy to relive." Emma understood then. There were wounds that words could never heal. From that day on, she started paying closer attention to the subtle details in the penthouse, realizing that each object carried its own story, waiting to be uncovered. While cleaning Alexander's expansive home office one afternoon, Emma stumbled upon a small wooden box, hidden beneath a pile of papers and design sketches. Curious, she carefully lifted the lid and found an old wristwatch inside. The back of the watch bore an elegantly engraved message, "To Alex, love Mom." She lightly touched the cool metal with her fingertips, sensing the sentimental value it must have held. In contrast to the opulence of the penthouse, the watch looked worn but cherished, carrying a sense of deep personal meaning. Emma smiled faintly, wondering if Alexander ever wore it or simply kept it as a treasured keepsake. Just then, a familiar, deep voice startled her from behind. "What have you found this time?" Emma nearly dropped the watch in surprise, quickly placing it back in the box. I'm sorry, I was just cleaning, and I found it." Alexander stepped closer, picking up the watch and rolling it between his fingers. A fleeting smile appeared on his lips, softer than Emma had ever seen before. "My mother gave it to me when I went to university. She said it would remind me of the value of time." Emma realized it was the first time she had seen Alexander smile, a real, genuine smile, not the usual smirks or guarded expressions he wore so often. "You don't wear it?" she asked gently. Alexander chuckled lightly, placing the watch back into the box with care. "Perhaps I don't want to think too much about the past." Emma remained silent, but in that moment, she understood. There were wounds that even time itself could not mend. One late afternoon, as Emma finished her work and prepared to leave the building, she discovered that her old bicycle had a flat tire in the garage. She sighed in frustration, trying to fix it, but to no avail. "Need some help?" Emma spun around in surprise and was even more astonished to see Alexander standing there, his shirt sleeves rolled up, looking far less intimidating than usual. "I didn't think Mr. Hale would be interested in something like this," she half joked, half intrigued. Alexander shrugged and crouched down to inspect the tire. "I used to fix bikes with my brother when we were kids." Emma watched him, seeing Alexander in a different light for the first time. Not as a powerful billionaire, but as an ordinary man with a past and cherished memories. Within minutes, he efficiently found the problem and helped her pump the tire back up. "Next time, check it before you leave." Emma smiled, feeling an unexpected warmth in her chest. "Thank you, Alex." Alexander looked at her, a flicker of surprise crossing his face, but he didn't object to the way she said his name. "Don't let it happen again." As Emma rode away, the smile on her lips lingered all the way home. Day by day, Emma found herself becoming more and more invested in Alexander. Each time she stepped into his penthouse, she could sense the atmosphere shifting. It no longer felt as cold and lifeless as before, but the closer she got, the more anxious she became. The gap between them was undeniable. She was just a cleaner, while he was a billionaire with immense wealth and a life filled with responsibilities and expectations. The whispers around the building only fueled her doubts. "I heard Mr. Hale is getting back with Victoria Sterling, his ex-fiancée." Emma tried to ignore the gossip, but deep down, she couldn't shake off the growing fear in her heart. She kept telling herself not to hope for something impossible. And yet, every time Alexander's gaze lingered on her, a little longer than usual, or when he genuinely listened to her opinions on how to arrange his space, she couldn't deny that her feelings were becoming deeper. One late evening, staring out of the penthouse window at the twinkling London skyline, Emma whispered to herself, "What am I doing?" She knew she shouldn't let her emotions get carried away, but every glance, every subtle gesture from Alexander made it impossible to control the way her heart raced. Emma couldn't escape the truth. No matter how hard she tried, she was slowly falling into the whirlwind of an unpredictable love. Emma had never imagined that hidden inside Alexander Hale's lavish and cold penthouse lay a secret so deeply buried. That day when Alexander left for an extended business meeting, Emma received instructions to clean the lower level of the penthouse, an area he had never allowed her to enter before. Walking down the long hallway with its cool gray walls, Emma felt a sense of unease. Everything was designed to perfection, to the point of feeling impersonal. When she placed her hand on the intricately carved wooden door at the end of the hall, she hesitated for a moment. The door was unlocked, and with a soft push, it creaked open. Inside was a room where time seemed to have stopped. Heavy curtains draped over the tall windows, coated with a thin layer of dust, and the soft light filtering through highlighted the neatly arranged books and objects on the shelves. But what caught Emma's attention the most was a large board covered with complex design sketches. They appeared to be technological blueprints that she couldn't quite comprehend. But one thing was clear. They were incomplete, abandoned mid-process, as if someone had walked away from them long ago. Stepping closer, she noticed a small framed photograph sitting carefully on the desk. It was a picture of a young boy with bright eyes and a beaming smile, standing next to a familiar figure, Alexander. much younger than he was now. Emma picked up the photo, her fingers gently tracing the faces, wondering who the boy was. Daniel! A deep voice startled her from behind, causing Emma to drop the frame onto the desk with a soft thud. She turned quickly to find Alexander standing in the doorway, his gray eyes sharp and tense. I'm sorry, I didn't know this was your private room, Emma stammered, her face flushing with embarrassment at being caught. Alexander stepped into the room, his gaze fixed on the photograph she had just touched. He picked it up, staring at it for a long moment before his voice, low and hoarse, broke the silence. My brother? Emma remained silent, sensing the weight of his words. A gentle breeze drifted in through the window, rustling the scattered sketches on the desk, adding to the heavy atmosphere. Daniel was my whole world, Alexander continued, his voice filled with nostalgia. He was brilliant, creative, always saw the world with optimism that I never had. He paused, his fingers tightening around the photo frame, as if trying to hold on to something long lost. But then, he died in an accident. Emma could hear the pain in his voice, and she hesitated before softly asking, "Why have you never mentioned him before?" Alexander let out a quiet, humorless chuckle. Because no one really wants to hear it. Daniel's death wasn't just an accident. He discovered something. Something within my family's company. A flaw someone didn't want him to find. Emma took a sharp breath, her eyes widening. Are you saying he was murdered? Alexander didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked over to the window, staring out at the misty London skyline. I have no proof, but I know his death wasn't random. Emma looked around the room again, finally understanding why it had been locked away. It wasn't just a place of memories. It was a space filled with Alexander's deepest regrets and unresolved grief. She stepped closer, gently resting her hand on his arm. You've tried to control everything, but some pain can't be controlled. Alexander turned to her, his eyes no longer cold, but instead filled with a vulnerability Emma had never seen before. I've spent my entire life trying to fix my mistakes, but nothing can bring Daniel back. Emma met his gaze, her voice soft yet firm. We can't change the past, but we can learn to live with it. A silence settled between them, not awkward, but filled with understanding. Emma, Alexander said her name softly, and for the first time since she started working here, she felt a true connection between them, not as employer and employee, but as two people who shared the weight of painful past. Since that conversation, Emma noticed a gradual change in Alexander. He no longer avoided her. Instead, she often found him quietly standing before Daniel's portrait, as if he was finally ready to face his past. One afternoon, as Emma was preparing to leave the apartment, Alexander's voice unexpectedly broke the silence. I've been thinking about selling this place, he said, his tone softer than usual. But now, I'm not so sure anymore. Emma paused at the door, turning back. Because you want to hold on to Daniel's memories? Alexander nodded slightly. And because someone made me realize that this place isn't just filled with pain. Emma smiled, feeling her heart flutter at the subtle but meaningful change in him. In the days that followed, Emma discovered a different side of Alexander. He started taking an interest in the little things, asking about her hobbies, her dreams of becoming an interior designer. One evening, as she was tidying up his desk, Alexander entered the room with a small box in hand. I want to ask you for a favor, he said, handing it to her. Emma opened it and was astonished to see interior design sketches, his own. These are ideas I've wanted to try, but I never got around to actually working on them. Would you like to help me? Emma beamed, her excitement evident. I'd love to. As Alexander looked at her with warmth in his eyes, Emma knew that something between them had shifted. This was no longer just about work. It was something deeper, something sincere. And from that moment, Emma realized that she was no longer just a housekeeper in Alexander's penthouse. She had become a part of his story. Emma felt like she was finally finding balance in her life. She had grown accustomed to her mornings spent tidying the penthouse, the increasingly personal conversations with Alexander, and the small but meaningful moments when he opened up to her. But just when she started believing that things could continue this way, everything was turned upside down by the arrival of Victoria Sterling, Alexander's ex-fiancée, who wanted to rekindle their relationship. Emma first encountered Victoria one afternoon while arranging fresh flowers in the living room. The sharp clacking of high heels against the wooden floor made her look up abruptly. Victoria stood there, looking as if she had stepped straight out of a fashion magazine. Her crimson dress hugged her slender figure, her blonde hair sleek and perfect, and her icy blue eyes scrutinized Emma with an unsettling smile. "Oh, so you're the new housekeeper," Victoria said, her voice smooth yet laced with thinly veiled disdain. Emma composed herself, maintaining her professionalism. "Hello, may I help you with something?" Victoria sauntered closer, letting her fingers trail over one of the flower vases, never taking her eyes off Emma. "I just came by to see Alexander. We have so many memories in this place, you know?" A chill ran down Emma's spine. She had heard about Victoria from Charlotte, an ambitious woman who had once been a significant part of Alexander's life, but Emma hadn't expected to face her so directly. "Mr. Hale isn't home at the moment," Emma replied, keeping her tone neutral. Victoria tilted her head, amusement flickering in her gaze. "I know. I just wanted to see who's replaced me here. And to be honest, I'm a little surprised." Emma could hear the unspoken judgment in Victoria's voice. She was being sized up, from her modest attire and neatly tied hair to her awkward presence in this world of luxury. Before Emma could respond, the front door opened and Alexander walked in. His expression darkened the moment he saw Victoria standing there. "Victoria, what are you doing here?" His voice was cold, devoid of any warmth. Victoria turned with a sugary, sweet smile. "Alex, you really need to reconsider your hiring choices. This girl doesn't quite fit your world, does she?" Before Emma could react, Alexander moved forward, positioning himself protectively between them. His voice was firm. "Emma is my trusted employee. She doesn't need your evaluation." Victoria's smile remained, but her eyes turned sharp like blades. "You can protect her all you want, Alex, but you know the elite circles won't accept someone like her stepping into your world." Emma felt a pang in her chest. Victoria's words hit a nerve, her deepest fear that she didn't belong in Alexander's life. Alexander's jaw tightened, his eyes never leaving Victoria's. "What I do with my life is none of your concern anymore." Victoria's smile faltered for a split second before she regained her composure. "We'll see about that," she said, brushing past Emma before making her way to the door. "See you at the charity gala next week, Alex. Oh, and make sure your help doesn't embarrass you." As the door clicked shut behind Victoria, the silence in the penthouse felt heavy. Emma stared at the bouquet of flowers in her hands, her heart pounding in her chest. Alexander sighed, turning to Emma. "Don't let her get to you. She thrives on making people feel small." Emma forced a smile, but inside, doubt gnawed at her. "It's okay. I should probably get back to work." Alexander took a step closer, his voice softer. "Emma, you belong here, more than she ever did." Emma looked up at him, feeling the sincerity in his words, yet the doubts refused to fully leave her mind. Because deep down she wondered, could she ever truly fit into Alexander's world? From that encounter onwards, Emma began to feel Victoria's presence everywhere. Rumors about her spread quickly throughout the building. "Is the cleaning girl really dreaming about Mr. Hale?" whispered a receptionist as Emma passed by. "I heard she's just a gold digger trying to climb the social ladder," another voice chimed in. Emma tried her best to ignore the gossip, but every lingering glance and every whisper behind her back made her feel small and out of place. One afternoon, while she was cleaning the study, Emma found an anonymous letter left on the desk. She unfolded it, and the words inside struck her heart like a dagger. "Do you really think you belong in our world? Don't delude yourself. Alexander will never truly take you seriously." Emma clutched the letter in her hands, conflicted. She wondered if she should continue working here. Was it worth staying in a place where everyone saw her as an outsider? That evening, Emma decided to speak to Alexander. She found him in the living room, sitting with a glass of wine in hand. "I think I should quit," she said softly but firmly. Alexander looked up immediately, his expression turning serious. "Why?" Emma pressed her lips together. "Victoria and the rumors. I don't want to be a burden to you." Alexander set his glass down and stood up, moving closer to her. "Emma, I don't care what others say. I care about you." She looked into his eyes, seeing a sincerity she had never dared to believe in. "But I don't belong in your world, Alexander." Alexander gently shook his head, taking her hand in his. "We decide our own world, Emma. You matter to me more than anything else." Emma felt warmth spreading in her chest. For the first time, she felt like she had a place in Alexander's life. But Victoria wasn't one to give up easily. She appeared at a charity gala hosted by Alexander's company, making a grand entrance and seeking him out in front of the media. "If you don't end things with Emma, I will expose the secrets of your company investigation," she whispered sweetly, but with unmistakable menace. Alexander met her gaze without a hint of fear. "You can do whatever you want, Victoria. I'm not afraid of my past anymore." Victoria faltered for a moment, but her eyes remained full of challenge. "Then let's see who comes out on top." Emma watched the exchange from afar, and when Alexander walked toward her, she realized that no matter how difficult the challenges ahead might be, she wouldn't have to face them alone. Alexander squeezed her hand and whispered, "We'll get through this, together." Emma smiled, knowing that for the first time, she truly belonged, not because of the lavish penthouse, but because of the man standing beside her. Alexander sat in his study, his eyes fixed on the old photograph of his younger brother Daniel. In the past, he had always avoided looking at it, as if facing the past would only deepen the wounds. But this time, he didn't feel the same torment. Outside, the media buzzed with speculation about his relationship with Emma, but Alexander knew it was time to stop running. Emma entered the room, concern and determination in her eyes. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she asked gently. Alexander nodded, his gray eyes steady with resolve. "I've avoided it long enough. If anyone has the right to decide my future, it's me, not Victoria, and not anyone else." Emma tightened her grip on his hand, feeling the strength in his touch. "No matter what happens, I'll stand by you." Alexander smiled softly, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Then let's face everything together." The next day, standing in front of a crowd of reporters, Alexander confidently announced his commitment to transparency within his company and his personal life. He publicly acknowledged Emma, standing proudly by his side, sending a clear message. He had finally embraced both his past and his future. Despite the backlash, despite Victoria's attempts to undermine him, Alexander remained unshaken. He and Emma knew that the truth, no matter how painful, was always worth fighting for. And with Emma's unwavering support, Alexander was finally ready to start a new chapter, one built on honesty, love, and hope. At the Hale Enterprises press conference, dozens of reporters gathered eagerly, their eyes filled with anticipation. The rumors surrounding Alexander's relationship with a cleaning staff member had sent shockwaves through London's elite circles, and everyone was desperate to hear the truth from the man himself. As Alexander stepped onto the stage, Emma stood quietly at the back of the room, her heart pounding in her chest. He looked confident in his tailored gray suit, but what caught Emma's attention the most was his gaze, no longer hesitant or guarded, but resolute and unwavering. Taking a deep breath, Alexander leaned toward the microphone. "I am aware that there have been many rumors circulating about my personal life over the past few days," he began, his deep voice resonating with authority. "I usually do not address such matters, but today I want to set the record straight." The room fell into a hushed silence, every ear tuned in. "I am in a relationship with Emma Carter," he declared, his eyes sweeping across the room before settling on Emma with a gaze filled with unmistakable affection. "She is not the person you speculate or judge her to be. She is the one who has helped me confront my own demons. Demons I've been hiding for too long." Emma felt her eyes sting with unshed tears. She never expected Alexander to speak so openly, so courageously, in front of the entire world. Alexander continued, his voice steady and sincere. "And most importantly, I will continue to lead this company on my own terms, staying true to the core values of transparency and integrity. I will not allow the past to dictate my future, nor that of Hale Enterprises." A flurry of questions erupted from the reporters, but Alexander simply raised a hand, signaling the end of the press conference with calm authority. Without another word, he turned and walked off the stage, heading straight towards Emma. "It's all over now," he whispered as he reached her, his hand finding hers in a reassuring grip. "We don't have to hide anymore." While Alexander faced the public, Emma and Charlotte tirelessly worked behind the scenes to gather evidence against Victoria. Charlotte placed a thick stack of documents on the table, her eyes gleaming with determination. "We have something she can't possibly deny," she said, her voice filled with excitement. Emma picked up the papers, her heart pounding as she scanned through the financial records. The documents provided detailed proof that Victoria had embezzled funds from the company's charity foundation to launder money for her father. There were invoices, emails, and even letters exchanged between Victoria and high-ranking officials, all meticulously documented. "We need to bring this to light," Emma said, her resolve strengthening. With the help of a trusted journalist, the explosive expose revealing Victoria and her father's fraudulent scheme spread rapidly across major financial news outlets. The scandal hit the headlines, and Victoria found herself with no choice but to admit her involvement. A week later, Alexander received official confirmation that Victoria had stepped down from all Hale Enterprises-related activities and was now facing a criminal investigation. When Alexander called Emma to deliver the good news, she couldn't contain her relief. "We did it," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "No, you did it, Emma," Alexander replied. "Thank you." That evening, the penthouse, once cold and sterile, felt warmer than ever. Emma sat by the window, gazing at the dazzling London skyline. The city lights flickered like distant stars, but tonight, her heart was no longer restless. Alexander approached with 2 glasses of wine, handing one to her. "You were incredible today," he said softly. Emma took a sip, then looked up at him with a gentle smile. "I just did what needed to be done." Alexander placed his glass down, his expression serious yet tender. "I've spent so much time trying to figure out what truly matters in my life." He took her hand in his touch firm and reassuring. "I want you by my side, not just as someone who works here, but as a part of my life. Forever." Emma's breath caught in her throat. "Alexander, are you sure?" His gray eyes met hers, unwavering. "I've never been more certain of anything." Emma searched his face, seeing the sincerity and love he offered so freely. Slowly, a smile formed on her lips as she whispered, "Then I'll stay." Alexander pulled her into his embrace, and for the first time in years, they both felt they had finally found where they belonged. Outside, London continued its bustling rhythm, but within the towering penthouse, a new story was beginning, one built on love, courage, and the belief in a future no longer overshadowed by the past. A serene autumn morning, soft sunlight streamed through the large windows of the once cold and desolate penthouse. Emma stood in the middle of the living room, where shades of gray once dominated, now filled with life. Plush cream-colored sofas, fresh flowers arranged on the tables, and the warm glow of the ceiling lights made the space cozier than ever. She smiled as she admired the result of her hard work. After leaving her cleaning job behind, Emma had devoted all her time and passion to pursuing her dream of becoming an interior designer. And Alexander, like a silent companion, had been by her side, supporting her in the smallest ways. "What are you thinking about?" Alexander's deep, warm voice came from behind. Emma turned around, meeting his gentle gaze. "I was just thinking, how much we've changed everything." Alexander stepped closer, gently taking her hand. "It's not we who changed everything, Emma. It's you. You brought the warmth I never knew I needed." Emma smiled, feeling the sincerity in his words. This penthouse, once an empty, hollow space to escape the past, had now become a true home, a place filled with memories, laughter, and hope. Months of hard work and dedication paid off, and Emma received an internship offer from a prestigious interior design firm in London, an important milestone in her career. She remembered the day Alexander had driven her to her first interview, sitting silently in the car and holding her hand when she felt nervous. "You can do this, Emma," he had said just before she stepped into the company's office. "I've always believed in you." And he was right. Emma proved that she wasn't just a girl with far-fetched dreams, but a woman who could turn them into reality. Day by day, she discovered new sides of herself. Stronger, more confident, and every evening when she returned home, Alexander was there, waiting with a glass of wine, and a gentle smile. "I told you," he often said when she excitedly shared stories about her first projects. "You can do anything." Victoria Sterling had long been out of their lives, and the rumors and barriers from high society no longer mattered to Emma. She no longer felt like an outsider in Alexander's luxurious world. Instead, she was an important part of his life, not because he needed someone to fill the void, but because he chose her for who she truly was. They learned to enjoy the simplest things, cooking together on weekend nights, strolling through the shimmering lights of London, or just sitting on the couch listening to the classical music Alexander loved. Alexander was no longer the lonely man burdened with hidden sorrows. With Emma by his side, he had learned to open up, to believe in happiness, and to allow himself to love again. One chilly winter evening, as Emma was busy with her design sketches, Alexander appeared with a small box in his hand. He knelt before her, his gray eyes filled with love and sincerity. "Emma," he began, his voice gentle but resolute, "you walked into my life in a way I never expected. You've brought warmth to this penthouse and given me hope. I can't imagine my life without you." Emma's eyes widened, her heart pounding as Alexander opened the box to reveal a sparkling diamond ring. "Emma Carter, will you marry me?" he asked, his voice carrying the promise of a lifetime. Emma felt tears welling in her eyes. She nodded, unable to contain the overwhelming happiness. "Yes, I will." Alexander smiled brightly, sliding the ring onto her finger before pulling her into his embrace, holding her as if he never wanted to let go. Their wedding took place in a charming little garden just outside London, a place Emma had always dreamed of. Under strings of twinkling lights, she walked down the aisle in a pristine white gown, her eyes never leaving Alexander, the man who had changed her life in ways she never imagined. Charlotte, Emma's best friend, couldn't hide her emotions as she watched the two exchange vows. "Do you take me to love, in wealth or hardship, in happiness or sorrow?" Alexander whispered, his eyes brimming with love. Emma held his hand, her voice trembling but certain. "Yes, I do. Forever." As Alexander leaned down to kiss her, Emma knew this was the most perfect moment of her life, the moment she had found the person she wanted to spend the rest of her days with. That evening, London was dazzling with lights, the streets bustling with people, and the headlights of cars shimmering like stars reflecting on the damp pavement after a light drizzle. Emma stood by the penthouse window, her warm brown eyes gazing at the scene below, her heart overflowing with gratitude. She felt thankful for everything, their fateful meeting, Alexander's transformation, and most importantly, her own courage to pursue her dreams and love. Alexander approached from behind, wrapping his arms around her, his warm breath brushing against her hair. He held her a little tighter, as if to affirm that this was where they truly belonged. "Life sometimes presents us with the most unexpected situations," Alexander whispered, his voice filled with emotion, "and I don't regret you stepping into my life by mistake." Emma smiled, leaning against his chest, her hand resting gently on his. "I don't regret it either," she murmured. "Everything happened the way it was meant to." Alexander kissed her hair softly, and in that moment, they both knew they had found each other, amidst the countless turns of life. Outside, the city lights continued to shimmer, but inside the penthouse, love and happiness had truly taken root, strong and enduring. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Let us know your thoughts on this story in the comments below. What type of stories would you like to hear next? Don't forget to like, share this story, and subscribe to our channel for more.